This is ex-brother Peter, writing from a quiet balcony alcove within Vassar Library's Gold, where I am here oft mistaken for a saintly Irish monk taken, since I usually sit in the warm light of a stained glass window bright while illustrating and editing a long treatise of non-fictional philosophizing called The Triumph of Life, Love, and Being.
All is so peaceful within it, and as I look up for a minute, I'm comforted by the stacks of old books, by the worn-out tapestries on hooks, and by the marble floor in the study court below, all so much reminding me of the monastery. Memories cover me like a warm blanket as it all comes flooding back for me to thank it. I turn back to my work, but not before a smile from my partner across the table gives me the energy to continue on with the illustrations. Yes, my co-author, ex-sister Angelina, the one, sits quietly near me and is still being mistaken for a nun. We are working at a large table, on our book, in the glow of the window's prismatic colored look, bathing in the radiance of our saintliness brooked in this sacred and blessed mood of the library nook. We're putting a few finishing illuminations of gold into our manuscript. For now that the story of old has been lived and proven, it deserves to be told, but it now has to be written, edited, and illustrated, bold. I ink in the leaves of gold, while she checks the page's folds, just like in the old days, which I shall explain shortly a ways. The library is a peaceful relief from going out adventuring and romancing. Talking is expressly forbidden here, just as in the monastical village feared, so we whisper ever so softly and sweetly to each other by and by. But I am getting way ahead of myself. So let's pause and start at the beginning, even earlier. It's all coming back to me now. This is the story of how the triumph of life, love, and being came to be, of how it was born in the labyrinth of the library's maze of passageways. I approached Vassar Library one day, fast, running on the blue-eyed flowered grass passing under the wide, overhanging branch. Looming up ahead were the library towers, complete with the turrets and gargoyles. The walls were made of Italian stone, and there was a large stained glass window. The library was built much in the tradition of some great monastery or a castle position. It was a lot like Camelot in this way too, but I thought my imagination could that outdo. I relaxed, letting my mind wander freely as I entered the spacious cathedral-like lobby. I saw the huge tapestries hanging high on the walls, those grand and glorious scenes of the past that called. Then I walked up the stone steps indented deep, as worn smooth by centuries of studious feet. There were stone railings too, like altar rails, and many old pictures, plus balconies, worn trails, spiral staircases, and the almost secret alcoves. The nook was silent, blessed, and gracious, the perfect place to write, the lure contagious. The library has 100 rooms of all the ages and 50 or more connecting passages. No one really knows how many mazes. Starting down one of the twisting ways and halls, I went through many levels of rooms and number calls, not noting where I'd been, not looking back at all. I switched on the lights as I went, but didn't realize that the glows and vents were automatically turning off behind me after a minute or so to save on electricity. So I continued along, between the stacks and down the stairways, with even more racks, entering older sections of the library zones which didn't quite line up with the newer ones. I was soon lost and completely disoriented. Then the library closed, and to my surprise, all of the power went off inside, for it was the Easter holiday shutdown. I was trapped inside, in the dark, unknown. I wedged open a door that was automatically closing, but I didn't panic, although I certainly allowed a few quick pulses. Looking around for clues, I saw a map on the wall, but it was too dark to read its call. However, when my eyes had become adapted, I could see the dim plots outlined of the shapes of the rooms on the map. In the distance, I could hear the electronic clicks of the security locks slipping into place as ticks in the treasure and the rare books rooms picked. Walking between the stacks, I guided myself along by tapping on the books with my handmade song. Coming to a moonlit window, I opened it with a shove, but it was much too high for me to jump out of. Looking out around at the exterior of the building, I tried to get an idea where I was in relation to exiting. Picking up a book, I looked at its call number to get a better idea of what section I might be under. The book was Beyond Metaphysics by Aristotle. I'm sure that it contained the answers to all of life's most difficult mysteries, since I knew, from my language studies thrall, that meta already meant beyond. But alas, it was too dark to read the book upon, so I put it back, meaning to take it out when the library reopened its house. It must have been the most precious book to know, for it had been presumed lost centuries ago. Imagine going beyond what Trek was already beyond physics. Oh, Aristotle, you magic mystic. It was not totally quiet in these surrounds. The library boiler's vents were making gurgling sounds. At least that's what I'd hoped the noises were all around. Yet, there was also sort of a weird stillness. I wouldn't say that I was scared, I confess, but there seemed to be a lot of creaking noises soft, as the library settled in for the week with the heat off. I went down what I thought might be a familiar stairway, but the door at the bottom was locked away. Looking through the door, I could see the rare book room. I went up 2 more levels, peering into another womb, and saw the main art gallery's way, with its sculptures and jade jewels on display. I better not get caught in there singing, with some alarm going on ringing, I thought. So I retraced my stepping and went around constructing squared circles for a while, unfortunately returning again and again to rooms that I had been to before. I had to find some of the more critical junctions. It was pitch black in the library's interior sections, so I marked some of the intersections by putting some books on the floor. That way I'd know by tripping, toe sore, if I was returning to rooms afore that I had visited before. Still, it was all rather frustrating. If only I had a candle demonstrating. But of course, fire was forbidden in the library. I heard a novel noise and followed it. It was just a drinking fountain with a slight drip. At least I had water. Good. I wouldn't die of thirst. There was a college recess coming up, and so the library had been, completely shut down for the next fortnight. I could be in here for a long time, cold, blind, hungry, and homeless. I sat down, sleepily, near an emergency light, and rested against the book's upright, one of which poked me in the back. So I took it out and chanced to read the title plaque as I was putting it down, not back in the rack. Letters between a saintly Irish monk and a holy French nun. I opened it and read a few pages. As I fell asleep, that book was on my mind, and I began to dream of it. I woke up in a scriptorium. I was a monk in a monastery sanctorium studying philosophy and illumination.
Pay attention to your leanings and ken, the daydreams welling up from your soul's den. You're the golden chalice to life's dripped blood. Oh, drink deep life's bountiful wine, the flood. Request times 1,000,000 through the eclipse sent to the darkening moon from my lips to change God's absolutely perfect mind. God said, all is as I've intended it,